Hey everybody, Alex here for Nerdy Inc. coming at you with not really a review of The Walking Dead Season 6, more of a here are my thoughts on the show at this point in time. I have mixed feelings about the show, and there's a lot to say. The problem with The Walking Dead is the tension between a thoughtful, unique, bold story and a consistent formula for a long-term show. Season after season, we have insane highs and lows, and this is why. We'll get a small, unique, thoughtful episode, but it's immediately undercut the following week by an episode that seems to just fill a zombie violence quota. The result is a disjointed show that bounces all over the place and leaves us interested and unsatisfied at the same time. Let's look at this season. One of the more memorable episodes was the bottle episode that featured Morgan and his spiritual journey from killer to respecter of life. Another great episode featured Carol in prison attempting to reconcile her desire for peace with the violence all around her. Both of these episodes are small character studies, and both of these episodes are, on their own, very good. The problem is that the desire to make this an exciting action show often forces these episodes into a place in the larger story where they don't belong. The season is on rails, and the fact that these characters need to end in a certain place by the end of the season means that these smaller stories have no room to breathe. Compare this with the early seasons of Lost. Since the showrunners had no idea where the show was going, despite whatever Damon Lindelof says, the characters grew organically over the course of the season. There is no organic growth in The Walking Dead because there are essentially two different stories being told, the character stories and the zombie story. A good part of that, too, is a function of the show not knowing what type of adaptation it wants to be. There are times when it looks like it's going to be an inspired by adaptation and the characters sort of grow into their own thing, but just when the show looks like it's going to stand on its own, it reverts back to its comic roots in almost a slavish fashion. The story goes to tell one thing, but then reverts back to another. These inconsistencies are augmented by the show's inability to come up with a theme that can carry over from season to season. How many times have you been told by the show to never give up hope, only to be punished for holding out hope? Whenever Rick and the gang find a settlement, it always falls apart. This isn't because hope is bad, this is because AMC wants the show to go on forever. With no endgame, there is no bigger picture for the story, and so naturally there's no bigger picture for the theme. Compare this to Breaking Bad. Vince Gilligan said he wanted to turn Mr. Chips into Scarface. While the specifics of episode number and side characters weren't nailed down, there was an overall goal for the show. The story was clear from the get-go, so the themes could take shape as we went into each unique act. The Walking Dead suffers from this because there is no clear beginning, middle, and end. The desire to keep the show on the air, and by extension keep it popular, has actually led to some of the most unpopular decisions in the series. Did you enjoy Glenn's fake-out death earlier this season? Probably not, because it was a cheap ploy to keep the show in the headlines, and unfortunately it worked. The negative reception to that gimmick didn't stop the showrunners from employing a new gimmick. It's a cliffhanger! Who did Negan kill? You don't know, I don't know, the cast members don't even know, and heck, I don't even think the showrunners know. I'd be willing to bet they're reading internet reviews right this very moment just so they know what's the best way for them to make a splash when they come back in a few months. This is admittedly a more cynical approach, but this is the sort of mindset that the show has cultivated over 6 seasons. We've been put through the ringer week after week. We've been shown that hope is foolish, that trust is dangerous, and there is no light at the end of the tunnel. As this is one of the more cynical pieces I've written, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. In the comments down below, I invite you to leave not only your thoughts on this season, but on the future of the show. There's no denying that the series is interesting and that the characters are likable, but after spinning its wheels for season after season, I'm curious if I'm the only one that has this pessimistic of a view. So, leave your comments down below, I'll definitely respond to all of them, and we'll see if we can figure this thing out. Those are our thoughts for now. If you've enjoyed this video, like I said, leave a comment. Liking, comment, subscribing, all that good stuff is much appreciated. And for all things games, comics, movies, and more, keep right here on Nerdy Inc.